Howdy folks, it's the first week of June 2025, and welcome to This Week in the West. I'm Seth Spillman, broadcasting from the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City. On this podcast, we share stories of the people and events that shape the history, art, and culture of the American West, and those still shaping it today. There he was, all 5 feet 5 inches of him, standing on top of a burning tank destroyer in eastern France in January 1945, all alone with German troops closing in on 3 sides. What young Audie Murphy did next transformed him from just another undersized second lieutenant from Texas into a giant of American heroism and eventually one of the country's favorite movie cowboys. We remember him this week on the 80th anniversary of his Medal of Honor award, June 2nd, 1945. Murphy was just 19 when his company was attacked by 6 German tanks and waves of infantry. He ordered his men to fall back and then climbed on the smoldering tank destroyer. He first called in artillery fire on the enemy, then grabbed the vehicle's .50 caliber machine gun and opened fire himself on the Nazis. The Germans threw everything at him, getting as close as 10 yards, but Murphy held his ground. He eventually returned to his men and, despite being wounded, led a counterattack that pushed the enemy back. His gallantry that day earned him the Medal of Honor. He became the most decorated American combat soldier of World War II and is often described as the most highly decorated enlisted soldier in U.S. history. Historian Rick Atkinson wrote, "A 5th grade dropout, he'd picked cotton, worked in a filling station, and fixed radios. Until enlisting, he'd never been 100 miles from the 4-room shack in Hunt County, Texas that housed 11 children. The Army had issued him a uniform 6 inches too long in the sleeves and tried to make him a cook. In basic training, he balked at buying GI insurance because, quote, I don't intend to get killed anyway, and it costs pretty high." Murphy was born in 1925 in rural Texas. When he returned home at 20, he was already a reluctant hero whose fame had begun to grow. His face graced the cover of a July 1945 issue of Life magazine, sparking the interest of legendary Hollywood actor James Cagney. Cagney invited Murphy to stay with him in California for 3 weeks and signed the young hero to a small acting contract. Murphy started out in bit parts, but by 1950 he'd landed a 7-year deal with Universal Studios. His first major role with him was playing Billy the Kid in The Kid from Texas, a title that could not have suited him better. Murphy found his place in westerns, but his battlefield legend was never too far away. In 1951, he was lent to MGM to star in an adaptation of Stephen Crane's landmark Civil War novel, The Red Badge of Courage. Murphy's military past gave his characters a sense of truth you could feel, and his boyish good looks didn't hurt at the box office. Movies like Destry, Drums Across the River, and Gunsmoke cemented his place as a leading man of the Western screen. But his most famous film role was playing himself in To Hell and Back in 1955, the adaptation of his own memoir. At first, Murphy was hesitant to take the role, but he eventually agreed, and the result was a runaway success. It became Universal Pictures' top-grossing film until Jaws came along 20 years later. Seeing the real man relive his wartime trauma on screen gave the movie a quiet, haunting power. Murphy spoke openly about the toll war took on him, what we would now call PTSD. He said, "After the war, they took Army dogs and rehabilitated them for civilian life, but they turned soldiers into civilians immediately and let them sink or swim." Throughout the 1950s and 60s, Murphy kept close to the Western genre. He played lawmen, drifters, and reluctant gunfighters, men shaped by duty, honor, and a sense of loss. He made some appearances on television and even tried to get his own Western-themed series off the ground, though none gained much traction. Though his film career waned in the 1970s, Murphy remained a beloved figure in American culture. In 1971, the nation was shocked when he and 5 others died when their plane crashed into the side of a mountain near Roanoke, Virginia. Famous World War II correspondent Bill Maudlin remembered Murphy this way. "In him, we all recognize the straight, raw stuff, uncut and fiery as the day it left the still. Nobody wanted to be in his shoes, but nobody wanted to be unlike him either." In 1996, we inducted Murphy into the Hall of Great Western Performers here at the Cowboy. And with that, we'll yell over and out on another episode of This Week in the West. Our show is produced by Chase Spivey and written by Mike Kaler. Follow us and rate us on Apple Podcasts, wherever you hear us. That'll help us reach more people. You can follow us on social media and online at nationalcowboymuseum.org. Got a question or suggestion? Drop us an email at podcast@nationalcowboymuseum.org. We leave you today with the words of Audie Murphy talking about his movie career. "I've made 40 pictures. I made the same Western about 30 times, but with different horses." Much obliged for listening, and remember, come find your West here at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum.